It's going to work.
Okay.
Okay, so we are live on Facebook. This is Shakti Sundari with Jason Hairston. Jason, please say hello and let's see if people can hear you
Hey everybody,
this
can you hear me out
time.
there in Facebook land?
We just spent about 20 minutes having a really fascinating conversation that nobody could hear.
Right.
And, it's been great hanging out with you.
I
And it
feel
is
so.
great hanging out with you. We want people to hear you.
Mhm.
Yes.
They can hear us?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Just double checking. People can hear us both.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Third time lucky. Okay, great. And thank you, Bayari, who's being a little angel right now. She's just texting me saying she can hear. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience and for helping us out, Bayari, because it's a, yeah. Anyway, so we're here. And Jason, I'm going to introduce you all over again.
Yes, yes, yes. It's all good.
Ah, so it's kind of funny because what she said. Oh, thank you, darling. Um, so yeah, this is funny because Jason is an energy healer mainly, but also many other things actually, which we might come on to today. And if we don't come on to today, we'll come on to another time. And as we've been kind of introducing this and we've been chatting, like we were just saying how the energy is really building. Like I'm feeling really hot now. That's probably partly just the excitement of this, but you were just talking about the energy and the planet today at the moment.
Yes, yes. It's I can feel when the uptick of the energy increases. It's like this compression that happens. And when that happens, that usually triggers a lot of stuff within people, within the world, and so it's like these certain upticks, from the sun emitting frequencies, and just the increase of the planet's frequency in general rising as well. This is why we're seeing a lot of things being outed with the sexual predators. It's time the frequency is compressing and pushing us to cleanse not only ourselves but to cleanse culture. So we're going
Right.
to see a lot more skeletons fall out of those closets as
Yeah.
time continues to go on. It's an exciting time.
It is an exciting time. And before we go on to the exciting times, just because people didn't hear you before,
Okay.
I just would like you to introduce yourself again, Jason, for people who are watching, who are going to watch this. Who are you? What are you about, Jason?
Okay. I'm an energy healer and a self mastery coach. And my goal is to help people come into their own power and give them tools on how they can heal themselves so they can be the most aligned version of themselves. And when we're all more aligned with the essence of who we are, we can create new cultures and new communities that are more harmonious. So that's my goal, is to help people be more aligned with their essence.
That's powerful and that's really succinct. What does it mean to be aligned with your essence? What does that mean?
It means to be aligned with the feelings and the creativity that you came into this planet with, as opposed to attaching to the conditioning that culture may have gave you, or the conditioning that your generation may have imprinted on you of who you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you're aligning with your true essence, you're coming into a space where you're understanding what drives you and allowing that drive to lead you. So a lot of us make decisions based off of what other people want us to do as opposed to what we really feel we want to do. And we do this because we don't want to be judged. But when
Yeah.
you become courageous enough to say, you know what, I'm going to allow my inner drive to guide me, this is when you start to connect into services and opportunities that are aligned with who you really are, and it leads to fulfillment. But it's hard for us to do so because, I mean, when you step into the essence of who you are and following your true desires of the heart, you'll get judged. Your family, like, what is wrong with you? You're crazy. Your friends, what are you doing? So all of that will come into play, and this is why you have to be courageous when you choose to do this. So it's definitely challenging. But ultimately what it will do is it will ground you more into your true strength. You know, when you're living your life based on superficial terms and conditioning that others have been printed on you, you're not standing in your true strength.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. It's an ongoing process, though, which is, you know, for me anyway. I was just checking the time, and I just want to check what's going on Facebook. Jason, again, I think this is really important before we kind of go more into this, because like you've got so much that you can share. Like I know any question I ask you, you'll be able to come with like a really wise, insightful answer that's going to like spark thoughts and feelings for people. But just to give anyone who's watching this a bit more perspective into how you came to be an energy healer. I know we kind of just went over that before, but could you just kind of explain, how did you get into being an energy healer?
Okay, in 2008, a friend of mine invited me to a tantric workshop. So I saw this guy perform tantra on her. And
when you say perform tantra on her, like, because some people will get an idea of what that is, and just what does that mean?
Well, she was just laying down and he was just moving his hands above her body, and he brought her to an energetic orgasmic state. And I'm sitting there like, she having an orgasm. What is going on? So I was blown away when I saw this. So when I first saw it, I was in my ego with it. I was like, oh, this is another tool I could use on the ladies.
Yeah.
So I was dating at that time. So I was like, did you feel that? You feel that? By the third time, somebody felt something. Like, oh, yeah, feel that. But so I started moving energy a little bit at that time, but then I connected with the woman, and I had a sacred sexual connection, my first one in this lifetime. And when I had that connection, it was like an activation. So she started having visions of us in a past life. She was pregnant with my child. I was crying, holding her, calling her some name I've never heard before, like I found her. And my energy healing abilities increased through that activation. So from that point on, I realized that energy healing and sex is sacred. So from that point on, I no longer use the intention of an imbalanced ego to perform any of those acts. So after that, I was passionate to teach others about how sacred energy healing is and how sacred sex is from that point on. And that's when I matured into the energy healer that I am now.
God, there's so many questions that arise out of that, you know, for me. So first of all, what's your understanding? You made this really clear distinction of you had sacred sex for the first time. Like, so what's the difference? Again, for someone who's watching this, who just hears the words, you know, they might think of God, they might think of religion. They don't know what you're talking about. What is sacred sexuality and sacred sex? And what's the difference between that and other types of sex?
Okay, so the difference between sacred sex and just regular sex is this. When you're just having sex, there was a time I was just having sex with women. I wouldn't kiss them or anything. It was just penetration and bye. So that's not sacred because I'm not adoring her. I'm not kissing her. So sacred sexuality is when you connect with someone sexually and you're adoring them. You kiss them, you caress them, and then after the orgasm, you actually may talk, you know, and share things, you know. So there's it's actual relating. So the sacred nature is just bringing the honor back into the sexuality, and when you bring the adoration back into the bedroom, this is what increases the energy to where things can be transmuted. So trauma may come up to be transmuted. Right. You may actually get visions. There may be activations that occur, but it can only happen when you're having sex with all of your chakras. See, most of us are just having sex in our lower chakras. It's just the animal instinct way of being.
Absolutely.
So I always say that if I don't want to kiss a woman, I won't have sex with her. If I don't feel like I want to kiss you, I won't have sex with you because it's not going to be sacred. There won't be any adoration there. And even though I may be extremely attracted to a woman and my hormones may be going crazy, calm myself down, allow myself to feel it. There's nothing wrong with admiring physical beauty and saying, because I still do that. Like, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But if I don't talk to her, if I don't feel in some sort of energy connection, I'm not going to really pursue. Well, I take that back. To be honest, if I feel a physical connection, I may see and talk, and I'll check and see if there's something there that I feel. But if not, then I pull away. But if I actually feel something, then I may go further. But it may not even lead to sex. And this is what I want to explain too when it comes to sexual magnetism. I think a lot of us get confused. So sexual energy, as me and you both know, is also creative energy.
Sure.
So this is what people need to understand. If you feel a strong sexual attraction to someone, it does not automatically mean that you should have sex with them, and it doesn't automatically mean that you are going to start a relationship with them. So this is how I do in an organic nature. When I feel a strong sexual attraction to someone, I come into it and I play in the energy. I may flirt, and I just allow it to evolve naturally to show me what it is. And I can give you an example of this.
Okay.
I knew this woman on Facebook for a while. This was years ago, maybe like in 2013. We never flirted or anything. I was friends with her for years, but one day we just started talking in the inbox. We started flirting. It was a sexual energy. I'm like, okay, so I know when that happens. What is this? Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, she says, would you like to do a Google Hangout with me and this other person and talk about sexual transmutation? And I said, sure. We did a Google Hangout, and it was pretty successful. I mean, I met someone in the airport who said they saw this video, and they was like, thank you. Can I take a picture with you? You helped me so much with my girlfriend. And so after we did this Google Hangout, that sexual magnetism between me and this woman dissipated. We didn't even talk anymore. So the sexual energy pulled us in to create a video. That was the purpose. So I didn't attach to, oh, this means we got to have sex, or, oh, this means we're going to start a relationship. I knew to just come into the energy, play in the energy, and allow the energy to show me what this is. So I think if we can look at sexual energy from that way, it'll save us from a lot of suffering when we use our minds to try to label it, as opposed to just filling out what it is and allowing the moment to show us, or the moments plural.
I totally get what you're saying, and I kind of resonate with that. And I'm thinking for a lot of people that would require a massive shift in how they live and in maturity, really, in terms of the understanding of sexual energy. And, you know, like you were just saying, you had that big awakening moment, and, you know, you were seeing visions. You realized from that moment on, you only really wanted to use your sexual energy in service and in devotion. So it completely shifted things for you. And also this healing capacity, you know, that you have now to sense and move energy. Like for most people, that journey of getting from one place to the other can take many years, because there's so much shit to clear out in the body, mind, in the emotional and the energetic body, in terms of, like you've talked about, trauma, pain, karmic patterns, ancestral patterns, all of that. So how did you make that shift yourself?
Well, you know what? I've always been the type who was all about greatness. So early on, I was a extreme perfectionist because I'm all about greatness. So, you know, I want to be a better human being. So because I have the desire to be better, I have the desire to go within myself and do the work on myself. So the desire of wanting to be a better human being will automatically lead you to facing your shadow and working with your shadow, if you have that true desire.
Do you think it's possible to get to that without looking at your shadow?
Well, I mean, when it comes to improvement, there's no way around facing your shadow. I mean, because if there is improvement, it's going to deal with the shadow self. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just look at that for a second. So again, for someone who's watching this, what does that actually mean? What does the shadow mean? What is it?
The shadow self are the parts of you that are imbalanced. Okay. So it may show up in the form of an insecurity. So the imbalance within the insecurity is you're not stepping enough into your power.
Okay.
It may show up in a sense of shame.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you're imbalanced because you're not accepting things. You're not accepting yourself without judgment. So you're judging yourself. So you have to balance that out. Figure out why you're judging yourself. Where's that judgment coming from? And start to just accept yourself for who you truly are and to forgive yourself when needed. So if I do something that's imbalanced, I go back and I fix it, and I forgive myself for causing whatever chaos that I may have caused within my imbalanced state. And that is being emotionally mature and practicing self-mastery.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about your own ego imbalance. Again, how you made that transition from, when you went into this Tantra workshop and you saw this magical stuff and this guy giving this woman an energy orgasm, you're like, wow, I want to do that too. So you defined that as coming from ego imbalance.
Right.
And then again, you made that resolve to not do that. So again, what would it look like out in the world if someone is still operating from that ego imbalance place in terms of sexuality and relating? And is there a difference between men and women?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're about to go deep now. Okay. So, what I see, I see like a sexual revolution going on again. It's happened again in the 60s, of course, but right now, so everybody's about being poly and open relationships and sexually free, which is okay. But what I'm hearing a lot of people being sexually open, but they're saying you can do whatever you want. And there's no accountability. No. Freedom comes with more responsibility. So if you're sexually free, you need to be more responsible about how you move. Right? So I'm seeing a lot of people preach this free sex, do whatever you want. And I don't move like that. Just because I could be sexually free and just because I'm in an open relationship does not give me the right to treat people like shit or to just dishonor people in the form of my ego getting what I want. And I see a lot of this happening in tantric circles. I see a lot of dysfunction. I see a lot of sexual addiction disguising itself as spirituality. And how do I know? Because I can read energy. I could just pretty much look at a person's picture and hear them talk about sex and feel them out. You can see it in people's eyes, And what people don't understand is, from an energetic standpoint, having sex and being sexually free from a place of just your lower chakras is dangerous. And I'm going to tell you why. There are such things as energetic parasites. There are different kinds of energetic parasites. There are sexual energetic parasites that feed upon people who operate in the lower chakras, because when you operate in a sexual nature without adoration, the frequency doesn't get high enough to transmute. So what happens is, because the frequency doesn't get high enough to transmute, instead of transmuting each other's trauma, you're dumping trauma into each other, and you could be dumping energetic sexual parasites in one another. And this is how it spreads like a virus. So a lot of people in these tantric cycles are actually infected with a sexual parasite. And there's one in particular that I see that's going through people. It's like an octopus, and I've actually pulled one out of someone, and me and another friend are noticing that it keeps showing up.
Whoa.
Yeah. It gets deep. I told you he was about to go deep.
Okay. That's kind of creeping me out now.
And it's real. There's actually an octopus entity that is forming colonies throughout these tantric circles, and is jumping in, and you'll see all these people just having careless sex and just spreading it all around. And this is why I'm not involved in any of these circles. I'm just from the outside looking at it like, ugh, gross.
Right. So, see, this touches on something that, okay, when I talk to people from my own perspective, my own understanding of sexuality and energy, and how, when we're making love, we're actually merging our energy bodies. And again, I guess my understanding comes a little bit from the Kundalini yoga perspective and a little bit from Tantra. But in terms of that, the woman receives the man and takes on whatever he's giving. And so it's kind of like you're taking on the consciousness of what you're being penetrated by. Does that make sense to you? You with me so far, or you have a different? Yeah,
that's true. But I'm gonna paint a different picture for you. There's a possibility. Well, in ancient times, I know that there were sexual healers, male high priests, sexual healers, and female high priestess sexual healers. So a woman who's in her high priestess state, who understands how to turn on her womb, you can actually turn on your womb and make it vibrate. So if a woman knew how to do that and had sex with a man who wasn't vibrating as high, he would enter her and she would, the vibration of her womb would pull up all his stuff. He would start crying and purging and all these different things. And the male could do it from the opposite end of the spectrum. You could turn on your penis and enter a woman. But we're not all out here understanding all of that. So the thing is, instead, we're just having sex. Many of us in a lower frequency, we're just dumping. We're not transmuting anything. We're just dumping.
So when you say transmuting, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so it's like this. If you're having sex on a low frequency, the vibration is going like this. So something can get in. See that? Something can get in. When you're having sex, sacred sexuality, the frequency is like this. Nothing can get in. So it turns into heat. And the frequency is so high and so fast. The parasites can't live in that frequency. It transmutes the trauma. It pulls the trauma up, and parasites can't even get in. They'll get burnt. They can't even get into that frequency.
Right. So you're using language that might be unfamiliar or alienating or a little bit strange to some people. Okay. So I've just got to question you on this. So transmuting what? So you've mentioned trauma. So are you saying that everyone's got trauma and that the purpose of sacred sex is to transmute the trauma?
Well, it's part of the purpose if there's some trauma that needs to be transmuted.
Okay.
So it transmutes trauma, blockages, but it also can serve as a way to raise your frequency so you can tap into memories of past lives, so you can get activations. There's so many things that can take place within the higher frequencies. But you can't get there unless you're having sex in the space of adoration.
Right.
You will not be able to raise the frequency high enough to experience what I'm talking about.
Sure. And then the other thing that you mentioned was the parasites. Okay. So assuming that that's happening, then how do we get rid of those parasites?
Here's the thing. Well, first of all, like this, let's talk about the sexual parasites. You have to come to a realization within yourself and be honest enough with yourself to say, I have a sexual addiction.
Okay.
That's the first step. If you can't come into that space, you'll stay stuck in your shadow, and you'll continue to disguise your sexual addiction as tantric love and free love and all these different things. But once you realize, hold on, I'm actually a sex addict. What do I need to do to balance this energy out? Once you make that decision, you will be led to the person that can help you, and everything will just come in place to help guide you to what you need to do to balance it out. Then when you get to help on how to balance that out, what will happen is you'll begin to attract sexual partners to help you transmute even more and pull up and transmute. But see, many of us egos are so big in these tantric circles that we're not willing to admit that we have a sexual addiction. We're not willing to admit that we're having sex outside of honor and adoration. So until you can come to that space, nothing will change, and you'll continue to use your ego to dump in each other. And it would just, and you know what happens? And you can see, I'm sure you see this. When people are in these tantric circles having sex like this, it creates chaos. And I know you see it. It creates dysfunction, chaos, pain. It's running rampant. I have many stories. I have a friend of mine who was living in a tantric circle. And when she called out some of the foolishness she saw, they shamed her. And she's hurt from that right now.
Right.
And I'm supporting her. Like, I'm here to support the fact that you spoke up. You did what you were supposed to do. But many people are not going to speak up and admit that this doesn't feel right. Something is off.
Yeah, it's hard once you get into a group mentality, isn't it? To be the one who's like, doesn't feel right. And particularly if there's people in a sort of a power position.
Yes. You don't want to question the power. But see, I will always question the power. And I have no desire to start a cult. I want people to be in their own power. So I'm inspired to start communities. So communities is mutual support. Cults is one power play person who makes all the rules, and you got to do everything he or she says. And in most cases, in all cases, if it's a cult, it's going to be someone in their ego who's misusing their energy, period.
Yeah, it has happened too many times. Again, in the circles that I know, I've heard so many stories about that. It's just like power,
Chaos. Chaos. Hmm.
and even in the most spiritual communities, really.
Exactly.
So,
This is why I don't hang out in any of those circles. I keep to myself.
so how do you keep yourself aligned? So if you're not hanging out in those circles, how do you keep yourself aligned? How do you keep yourself connected? How do you, know that you're really still on that right path?
Because my world shows it. There's no chaos or drama in my life. So the less chaos and drama you have in your life is a reflection of how aligned you are.
Okay.
So here's the question. If there's chaos in your life, if there's a lot of chaos, that means there's a lot of trauma that needs to be healed. So, so efficiency is the key to peace. How efficient is your life? The less efficient it is, mean the more blockages you have. I can always show you, if you have the amount of chaos and drama you have in life, I could point within you the blockages that are causing the stagnation that's reflecting the chaos. When there's an open flow, there's a more open flow in my energetic aura. That's why there's no chaos and drama, because I'm just open and there's efficient flow. If I have many blockages, it would be a whole bunch of chaos that's reflective of the blockages. So that's how I know that I'm aligned.
Okay, I get that. Yeah, I get that, and I see that. Yeah. When you talk about blockages, again, for someone who's watching this, what do you really mean by that?
I mean, when you haven't healed heavy traumatic things that have happened to you, you become fragmented. So like if something happened to you when you were 20 years old and you haven't healed from it, when something in your world triggers the memory of that trauma, you actually react from the same mentality you were when you were 20, because you haven't healed it, you haven't moved on. So part of your energy is stuck as a 20-year-old. And that piece that's stuck as a 20-year-old is actually somewhere in your body too. The reflection of that block is somewhere in your body, in your energetic aura.
Right.
So,
sorry, go on.
But many of us have many fragmented pieces. We may be fragmented at 7, 15, 20, 35. So what I do with my clients is I help them break all of the cycles of those traumas. So all of the energy that's stuck in those periods of time can come into the present. And when all that energy comes into the present, you're more aligned and your energy is more efficient.
Sure, I get that. Does that mean that, and this is what I was going to just ask you, is that someone can come to you for a session or a series of sessions and you're working with their energy body, right? And you're working with sexual energy, creative energy in a way, although it doesn't mean you're doing anything sexual.
Well, actually, I'm not working with sexual energy though. A lot of people will say that. I just literally project love.
Okay.
Now, when I project, if you have some blockages in your sacral revolving around your sexual energy, and if you surrender, it may open you up to where you may actually experience an energetic orgasm. But when that's happening, I'm not sexualizing it. Right. I'm holding space for you, because the only reason why you're going into an energetic orgasmic space is because you've been holding back some of your sexual energy for so long, and now it's flowing, and it causes you to go into an orgasmic state. So I'm not sexualizing it when this happens. I'm able to experience a woman or a man in an energetic, because I worked on a man before to went to an energetic orgasmic state. Now, most men won't allow themselves to open up that deep when I work on them, but it has happened before. So it's just not sexualized. And I think that's one of the issues that I see within the spiritual communities. It's almost like how hard it is in America to separate nudity from sex. It's also hard to separate orgasm from intercourse, because we don't understand that those could be two separate things, because we just don't have the knowledge.
Sure. Yeah, totally with you on that one. What I was going to say, what I was going to ask was then, I'm suddenly hearing an echo, I don't know why. Does that mean that someone could clear those, what you call blockages and those traumas, simply through the energy work? Or does there also need to be some talking and processing, some homework that they would need to do as well? Okay,
now it's possible for something to be cleared and removed through an energy in a session. Depends on how deep the blockage is. But the deep traumas, if I move something out and get the energy moving, if you don't deal with the root of why the block was there in the first place, it will come right back. So I always tell my clients, it's like getting a massage. So if you were playing sports and you moved your body in a certain way and twisted your back, you get a massage, a masseuse will massage it out. But if you don't know the movement that you're making to continually twist your back in that way, I mean, you're not going to deal with the root of why you had to go to the masseuse. So that's why I tell my clients, I can bring some I can make you feel better now, but if you don't deal with the root of why this was there in the first place, that blockage can come right back. So you need to know that you have to do, this is why I do the self-mastery work as well, because we uproot and shift the subconscious mind and the conscious mind so we can uproot what has caused the blockage so it doesn't come back anymore.
Okay.
So it depends on what you feel like you need. Do you feel like you need just a little energy healing to feel better in a moment, or do you want to go deeper and deal with the roots? It's up to the client.
So what if the client can't see the root? Because, I mean, isn't that the whole point of the shadow? It's like, we can't fucking see it.
Well, that's how I help them see it, through the self-mastery coaching.
Okay. And so
I'll see it.
Go on. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just say I'll see it once we process and talk. Okay.
And then do you use other tools besides the energy healing to work with that in the self-mastery then?
Oh, yes. So in the self-mastery program, what I do is if I see that we work on 3 different levels, we work on the conscious mind, the mental level. So you may have certain belief systems that you're using that are false and limiting you. So if I see that, I'll point this out. I'll give them a new perspective. This belief system is limiting you. Try looking at it from this angle in your life from now on and act from this perspective. And then they'll see the shift. Then the second level is the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is different from the conscious mind because the subconscious mind only comprehends symbolism. So if I see something deep within the subconscious, I'll have them take a certain act to speak to the subconscious mind. The symbolism of the act will tell the subconscious mind, oh, you want me to do this or release this? So I'll give you an example. So
yeah, give me an example.
I had a client in Australia, and she said she had problems with letting her ex-husband go. So I said, get a Chinese lantern, write his name on a sticky note, stick it on the Chinese lantern, go outside and let it go and watch it until you can't see it anymore. So the symbolism of letting him go till you can't, the subconscious mind is like, oh, you want me to let him go? Okay. She said she thought about doing that and she felt his weight lift off of her. I said, now go do the physical act. Now, it may be, I may tell you to go watch a movie. So for instance, sometimes I have clients who come to me and say, I think I've been sexually abused, but I don't remember. So what I do is I send them this movie called Bliss, which is about this couple, and the woman was sexually abused, and the sexual healer teaches her husband how to work with his wife. And when clients watch that movie, what it does is it triggers the memories of the sexual abuse. So that's a tool as well. So it depends. It may be a movie. I may say, read this article. It could be anything, but I tune into what it needs to be to speak to your subconscious mind. And I give them specific tools that are unique for that specific client.
Okay. So there's 3 levels you said: conscious, subconscious.
The third level is the energy healing. So
you work on
the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, then I put you on a table and do energy work on you to remove the blockages that reflect the subconscious and conscious mind. Now, if I work with you from long distance, I'll do energy healing to you long distance. But either way, it's the same process.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm just conscious, Jason, that of time. Because like we're kind of ranging over so many things, and I've got I wrote all these notes of questions I wanted to ask you, and well, we've touched on some of them and some of them we haven't. It doesn't really matter.
It goes where it goes.
It goes where it goes. And I almost want to say, I wonder if, I'd love to ask people, if anyone had a question to ask you, if there was anyone watching. And also, I know there's a little bit of a time lag between us being live and what's actually showing on my Facebook page. Okay. Let's just see if it's working. Would you be open to answering some questions from people?
Sure.
So I'm just going to see, I've got guys who are watching this. I've got my Facebook page open, and there are some comments here, which is great because I haven't been looking. So feeling what Jason is saying. I've come across this in tantric circles too. Wow, that's deep. So get that though. Got it. The audio is clear. But yeah, just anyone who's watching at the moment, if you have a question that you'd like to put to Jason, you know, he's an energy healer, he's a self-mastery coach. He runs this online program that I was going to also ask you about as well, Jason, which is emotional alchemy, because that really ties in with something that I'm fascinated by as well, which is how we kind of take those moments of pain and difficulty and challenge and actually use that as a leverage to really find our true power and purpose in life, you know, because the conditioning is so much to interpret something like that as, oh my God, I'm a victim, this is awful, and why has this happened to me? And what I've learned through some of the chaos in my own life, if I'm honest, like there's been quite a bit of chaos over the last 10 years. But what I've discovered is that every moment of chaos and every moment of pain, and you know, when I've really been down in the shit, actually it's been a gift and a blessing for me, because it's kind of transmuted, it's transformed, it's opened, it's grown me, I've learned something. So it's always become something that I'm like, okay, I welcome this now, because it's showing me something else for me to learn. It's opening my heart more, it's growing me into my power more, you know, it's showing me where I'm still not really claiming my power fully and things like that. So it looked like your emotional alchemy program was a little bit about a similar kind of thing. Yeah. So Claudius said, can you put a link to his online course in the thread? Yeah, we will. So just seeing if any questions are coming up. It doesn't look like there's any questions at the moment. Okay. So let me see. Do you want to talk a little bit about emotional alchemy?
Okay, sure. Emotional alchemy is just taking responsibility to choose to be a student of life as opposed to a victim of circumstance.
Okay.
So when we approach life, when we feel pain or we think someone is doing something to us and life is so mean, what we're basically saying is, I don't want to take responsibility to learn to be a student in this moment.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm hurt or something hurts me, I immediately go within myself and I start digging. Like, I ask the first question, why does this hurt?
Yeah.
Why am I hurt by this?
Yeah.
That question will lead you to another question. See, and you have to be honest with yourself though. Why am I hurt? So, oh, I'm insecure. Why am I insecure? Oh, because it may be someone called me stupid and I got mad. Do I feel I'm stupid? So you just keep going. Okay, why do I feel I'm stupid? You keep digging. Oh, yeah, I remember when my father or my mother used to always call me stupid, or my cousin used to always call me stupid. And it used to make me furious. Now this is the root. Okay, so my cousin or my mother or whoever called me stupid. Why did I believe I was stupid?
Right.
You keep peeling back the onion. Why did I believe I was stupid?
Yeah.
And why did they feel like they needed to say that I was stupid? Why did they feel like they needed to put me down? If they felt like they needed to put me down, it had to be because they felt like I was more powerful than them, or they wouldn't have chose to try to put me down. It had to be because they were insecure. Then you start just, so that means I must be powerful, and I made somebody else feel uncomfortable in my. See, you could just keep peeling back the onion, and then once you realize that, then you can say, oh, so here's the thing: I'm powerful. Somebody saw my power and wanted to diminish my power. So that means all I have to do is be myself and be powerful. And when someone does it again, I'm not going to react this time because I know they're just responding from their insecurity.
You make it seem so simple.
Well, it's not simple as a process. So for instance, if you come to that conclusion, okay, people who try to demean me and make me feel like I'm stupid actually believe that I'm powerful. What you could do is you have to be conscious enough to not allow yourself to get triggered. So somebody call you stupid, you're stupid. You just don't. You may feel the anger come up, and you calm yourself down.
Yeah, anger that's been a big one for me. It's like the triggering. It's like dealing with that, because like, you know, I guess again, relationship is the perfect place to get triggered and to see our stuff. And you know, you think you're so amazing, and then you go in a relationship and you're like, oh my God, there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this. I didn't even realize about that. So, you know, I was finding in my last relationship, I was getting, well triggered. And, you know, despite all my stuff, I was reacting. And it's like, what do you do in that moment when it's like that thing rises? And, you know, do you have any tools for that?
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know,
it's as simple as stop. So if I feel myself, now here's the thing, it depends on how strong it is. Now, I want to say this. So let's say you get triggered and you react angrily, right? If you can't stop yourself, don't start guilting and shaming yourself. Just once you say everything you have to say, calm down, and then you backtrack, and whoever that you spewed all this anger at, you go back and apologize. And you say, look, I'm sorry. I was triggered. Here's why. Because when you said this, you made me feel like be honest with the person, how they made you feel. And you'll say, well, when you said this, it made me feel this way. And they may show you, well, that's not what I meant. I meant this. And you're like, oh, it was a misunderstanding. Like I just had a conversation with a friend of mine last night about something. And there was a small little trigger on their end, but when we talked about it, we realized that it was just a misunderstanding of how we saw what we were talking about. So we, like emotionally mature adults, we talked about it, and they was like, oh, now I see your perspective. Then they saw my perspective. So this is what happens when you're able to step into a space of a disagreement or a misunderstanding with maturity. You're able to talk it out and actually to give enough space to see the opposite perspective and allow yourself to be open to maybe admitting that you saw something wrong. So I admit it. Oh, I saw that wrong. Sure. You know, I'm sorry. And they admit it. I see your perspective. I saw that wrong. I'm sorry. So that's how you can harmonize and not spin out into chaos. It's by not allowing yourself to be so egotistical to where you just shut down. Just allow yourself to be open to the other side and just give it a moment to reveal itself. You may be surprised that it may have simply been a misunderstanding. So this is also this is emotional alchemy. Sure. It's about harmonizing, because when you don't attempt to harmonize, what happens is two people just spark chaos, and the chaos gets bigger. So I don't want the chaos to get bigger. So when I step into a situation, my question to myself is, how can I bring harmony to the situation? Even if it means saying that I'm sorry and I did nothing wrong. It may take that. What will it take to bring harmony? Because it doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong to me. What's more important is that we stop the chaos. That's what's more important. And that's emotional alchemy. Being able to step outside of your pride to bring harmony to a situation.
That's powerful, actually. And I can feel there's a bit of me that reacts to that. And the bit of me that reacts to that is that, what is it? It's the bit about truth. It's like, I will never do anything that oversteps my truth. And sometimes then my experience is, if I stay in my truth, it doesn't harmonize things.
Well, you know what it is?
What's that?
For instance, let's say I'm in a situation. I know the truth of what's actually happening, but the person that I'm dealing with is projecting a delusion of what happened. In that moment, you have to realize, if someone is projecting delusions because of their trauma, there is no way you're going to reach them with what is actually happening. So what you have to do is let it go. Speak your truth and be like, okay, you feel that way. That's fine. But this is how I feel. Right. See, but the ego wants to prove. And even though you may be right, the ego wants to get the other person to see that you're right, but it doesn't even matter. Right. If you're right, you're right. Water is wet. You don't have to prove to nobody that water is wet. No. If you know that what you're saying is the truth, why are you trying so hard to prove it? Once I say it, clarity, and you're still projecting delusion, I'm stopping right there, because you don't want to admit the water is wet. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, you got it. Oh, Jason, this is awesome. I'm just going to look again to see if there's any questions. Okay. So just reloading the Facebook page because I know we've been talking quite a while, and I'm finding this fascinating. I'm hoping that people who are watching it are finding fascinating.
I want to say something else too. I want to say something else in defense of women.
Go on.
I understand even more how when a woman knows the truth about something and the man doesn't see it, I understand you wanting to because women's voices have been suppressed for so long that the rebellious nature of the feminine comes out like Cali, because it's like, listen to me, you won't listen to the feminine. So I understand.
I have a bit of that. I have to tell you.
I know. This is why I'm bringing it up, because I understand you
can see that. Yeah. And it's go on.
Women, I mean, all women have this issue. Like it's a common issue for women's voice to be suppressed.
Yeah.
So the frustration of you being delusional as a man and not seeing the truth will trigger the trauma of not being heard.
It does. And thank you for seeing that. Yeah. And I so own that in myself, because that's totally what was going on with me in my last relationship. It was like, it felt like I was defending all womanhood.
Yes.
That's how I felt, because I felt like I was coming up against patriarchy again and again and again. And it wasn't just about me. This is how it felt anyway. It felt like it was about all women who have been suppressed and denied and mocked and not heard. And I just couldn't let it go. That's because
it was about all women.
You've got to hear me. That's really how it felt, you know.
It's the collective trauma within women. Yeah. It's the collective trauma. Just like each ethnic group has a collective trauma. Humanity has a collective trauma. Then like me as an African American, the Black community has a collective trauma. Then women have a collective trauma. Men, it's all these compartments of individual traumas, collective traumas that we have to unravel.
Yeah. So I'm feeling that. God, I feel that now in my heart. Like, so you've just tapped right into it. That's brilliant.
But this is why I'm the opposite. I give women the space to speak. I actually love working with women. I've written a movie script with a woman, and I would send her scenes and she would send it back, and it'd be 200% better. I'm like, damn, this is so. If men will understand that, if you allow women to create alongside of you, the combination of both energies creates a magic. Because here's the thing, I get frustrated when I go to a website and I can tell that only men worked on this website because it's not intuitive at all. It doesn't flow. So I'm like, there needs to be a feminine component when you're creating something substantial. So my thing is this: if there's a male president, there needs to be a female president. If there's a board, a serious board that makes big decisions, there needs to be an equal amount of men and women on this board.
Do you know, Jason, like what you're saying is still amazing, and I'm still feeling the impact of what you've just said before about the trauma of women not being heard. Like, I'm still feeling that, and it's still growing, and I almost want to like just start crying because I realize that you've just spoken to something that is, or maybe I'm going to start crying. Like,
okay, allow yourself to feel.
That is so it. I can't tell you how healing it is to have a man speak to me the understanding of those centuries of not having been seen and heard. It's profoundly healing to know that you see that and you get it, and it's wow.
Well, that's why I'm here to support the feminine and stepping back up to stand side by side with us as the masculine, because it's time. The only way we can bring harmony back on the planet is by us coming together as men and women and rebuilding. That's the only way. We have to harmonize in every aspect, and that means the relationship between men and women. And for that to happen, I want to say this too. Us men, we have to realize that we have to give space for our women to speak, but also women need to understand that we're hurt as men as well.
I was going to ask you about that now.
You know, we objectify women as just physical objects, right? And this is another thing I speak about, loving women beyond objectification, which was something I didn't do when I was younger, because we're conditioned as men. Oh, she looks good, I'm going to marry her. when we don't know anything about this woman? So we need to start looking at our women as complete human beings, and it's okay to acknowledge her physical beauty. But what about who she is as a human being along with that physical beauty? A woman wants to be loved for who she is fully. The love of someone's looks is a temporary fix. It's like a temporary high, like a drug. That won't sustain itself within a relationship. There has to be more than just that. So we're hurting women by objectifying, but women objectify us too, because a lot of women look at men as the financial support, just a financial support system, or whatever. It may be something else. So I see a lot of women attack me when I speak from that end, saying, well, we're hurt as men too. You got to understand, you women, you're hurting us too. Oh, boo-hoo, men. Oh, so sad. Oh, men. No, see, it's like we have to acknowledge both sides.
Okay? Yeah. Yeah.
If we're able to do this, we will not be able to bring harmony within our relationships.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was actually my next question. So from that, you see what happens, and it's just, we haven't planned this. Anyone who's watching this wasn't planned. This is just a free flowing conversation. And through what's happened, I didn't even know we were going to go there. And we've kind of gone into that part that's just, it's like really touching my heart. I'm holding myself together a little bit. Part of me was supposed to go and sit and cry somewhere for a bit and just release that. But also what immediately comes out of my heart in response to that, quite authentically, is like, and what can I do for you? How can I love you, man? Like, okay, so what do us women need to step up and do? All right. And that's just like the spontaneous response that is then coming out of me in reaction, in response to what you've just offered me.
I think one of the big issues I see when it comes to dealing with the relationships between men and women. Now, if you look at most of the articles that talk about relationships, and most of these articles, 98% probably of them are talking about everything that the man is doing wrong. It's always the man's fault.
That's true.
How to make your man love you better. What men are doing. But see, so there needs to be more accountability on the feminine end to admit that you're causing issues as well as the feminine. There's issues on both sides. We have to be accountable on both sides about how we're hurting each other.
Right.
So I would say we need women to be more accountable about what they're projecting as well, and what they're contributing to the chaos as well.
Thank you. And if there was so like you identified like a really big trauma, like you called it the collective trauma of womanhood, this thing about not being seen and heard. So what is the equivalent of that for the masculine?
I think that we're not being given a safe enough space to express our hurt and pain without being emasculated in a lot of cases. We have so much pressure on us men to hold it together, to be the strong man. It's so much pressure to be all of that. And a lot of times, a lot of the emotional and the physical abuse that a man projects towards a woman is because of the pressure that they feel within themselves. Because they don't deal with their emotional component, it comes out into extreme of physical violence or emotional abuse in a lot of cases. I'm not saying every case, but a lot of times it's the suppression of men, suppressing their emotions, trying to uphold this idea of manhood, of what women want or what they think women want.
Right.
And it turns into chaos and a chaotic, dysfunctional expression. So instead of women saying, you need to man up and be a man and take care of this, that needs to be transformed into, are you okay? I know we're talking about how I feel a lot, but how do you feel? When was the last time you stepped to your man and said, are you okay? Is there anything that you would like to discuss? Anything that's bothering you? I guarantee you, all the women that's watching this, if you step to your man and do that, just experiment and do that. You may actually see your man get emotional. Because we don't get that in most cases. We don't check in. The women don't check in with us to see how we're doing. Okay. It's just a lot of, you hurt me. Look what you're doing to me. As opposed to, you hurt me, but have I hurt you?
Right. Right.
So I'm going to speak for all men. What we really crave from women is just more accountability on your end.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Mm. Mm. Whoa. I feel like that's kind of, go on.
Go ahead. But even with my ex-girlfriend, I mean, you met her. I mean, she would check in with me. She would say, "Are you okay?" Like, that's so rare for someone to check in with you as a man.
Well, one thing I was going to say is that I personally do that a lot, but I found that with my last partner anyway, he would kind of not like that and sort of think that was feminizing him, or I'm fine,
See, that's what I'm. See, this is the conditioning of what manhood is. We think that I don't need to deal with my emotions. I'm a man. I can handle it. So, but the thing is, another reason why us men uphold that conditioning is because women don't create a safe space for us to be able to express without getting judged as being unmanly. So we don't want to seem unmanly to our women. So if we think that expressing how we feel is going to make us look unmanly in your eyes, we're not going to say it.
Well, you see, the irony is that for me, it's less manly to pretend that you're okay when you're not than to actually show the truth. Like, the most manly thing in my eyes is to be real, whatever is going on. That's what I respect.
But the issue is on his end, because it's his concept of manhood that he's attaching to. It has nothing to do with you. It's his issue. Right. He's attaching to a version of manhood that's not aligned with the essence of what manhood is.
Right. Oh God, that's another whole thing. The essence of manhood. Oh my God. What I was going to say, Jason, is that there's been so many lovely comments underneath. Thank you, Jason. You touched my heart deeply. Thanks to you both. Thank you, guys. That was brilliant. I kind of feel like we've come to a natural ending at this point, and also just in terms of timing for me. My kids are home from school, and there's another phase of the day that wants to start. So what I'd love to do is to just kind of bring this to a close now, and then we can look at the comments that people have written underneath, and if there's any replies to give, I think somebody wanted to know about your online course. Okay. You can kind of put in the link there for that, and maybe we can speak another time, because it feels like
part two.
If you're up for it.
Definitely.
Yeah, that'll be good. I've got to put my glasses on. I've got to see you better. That was awesome.
I agree.
That was great, wasn't it?
You're awesome. I'm going to say this. When I met you in London, because, people online, you never know. People post stuff on it. I kind of felt you anyway, but we met in person. I just want to say that I really appreciated your authenticity and your vulnerability when I met you. There's not a lot of people that I meet that actually come from the space that you would come. I felt your authentic nature. I felt you being authentic when I met you in person. So I just want to acknowledge that and let you know that I see you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a little bit like I see you seeing me. Yeah. Thank you. So, all right, so I'm just going to do an official, you can stay here for a second, Jason, but I'm just going to say an official, thank you so much. Amazing. And I think there'll be lots more that kind of reverberates and follows on from this, new things that have been sparked off actually, and questions from people as well, which I really hope. And jasonhairston.com is Jason's website. I'll post it underneath anyway. Join me again next time. I'm going to be doing actually an interview once a week from now on. That's my intention. So, and I love doing this. I really do love doing it. So thank you for being my guinea pig. And thank you to everyone also who was helping us with the technical issues at the start as well. Yeah. So lots of love, everyone. And see you again soon.
Peace.
Yeah. All right.